Welcome to What Car Should You Buy, a weekly show where we debate which car you should buy, and you debate whether or not a bag of fiery habanero-flavored Doritos counts as a serving of vegetables. I'm your host, Doug DeMuro, and tonight's topic is midsize sedans, or the car your company leases for you to celebrate another year of lowering your expectations about how exciting your life is going to be. Yeah, there's still some Cinnamon Toast Crunch left. Maybe I won't set the building on fire today. It used to be that your choices in midsize sedans were a lot like a shopping mall food court, varying from bad American to better than mediocre Japanese to disturbingly cheap Korean. But now we've got a smorgasbord of offerings that include Chinese Volvos, Italian Chryslers, and American-built Japanese cars. The best-looking car in the bunch might be Korean, and the most exciting new entrant might be American. So which one's the best buy? Let's talk cars. Because we're talking mid-size sedans, I've invited the beigest man I know, Jalopnik Executive Director Matt Hardigree, as well as the auto journalist Abigail Bassett, who currently contributes to Yahoo Autos and is so American that she's been known to blast old router boxes with a .44 Magnum around a bonfire. So, let's talk mid-size sedans. The Jalopnik Best's guide listed the Hyundai Sonata as the very best mid-size sedan.
I was actually shocked. I liked the car, like I genuinely liked the car, and for the price, I couldn't configure any other car that gave me everything that I would want at that price, except for, you know, maybe the Legacy, but the Sonata comes in a little cheaper, and it's nice. It's a good car for most people.
And I actually have to agree too, just mainly because the Hyundai, it has that great warranty that you've got, you know, what, 10,000 miles, 10-year, or whatever it is. It's kind of unbelievable, especially when you look across the spectrum of cars that are out there in this sector. It also gives you sort of that luxury feel without having to, you know, sell your house.
So what about, the Kia is pretty similar to the Hyundai, but we prefer the Hyundai.
I guess in that same space you could get the Optima. The Optima used to be the best looking car in this space. Now it kind of is. They took a step back, I think, in design.
Sort of evolved it a little bit.
They evolved.
Yeah.
If you want the Kia, there's nothing wrong with the Kia version of it, but the Hyundai version just seems to be right in that sweet spot.
Don't you think that it's maybe a little dull? I mean, they dropped the power in the big one. They don't have a V6. They have a Turbo 4. They dropped the power this year. Don't you think it's maybe not as fun as some of the other cars?
If you're buying a midsize sedan,
Yeah, that's a good point.
for power, like you've made a mistake. Just buy a Miata, or buy like an old CPO'd car, spend $20,000, and then buy like a used, you know, really junky old Camaro. Like, and if you're in this space,
Junky old Camaro, that's one alternative. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're in this space, and this is the problem that I think we have as enthusiasts, like people who love cars, is like we want to say, oh well, nobody would rationally buy this car. Actually, nobody would rationally buy any other car. Like, it actually makes the most sense. So there are people who have to, either because of corporate leases or family, have to get cars. And so that's why you have such a good range. Actually, some of the best cars are made here because it's such a competitive, like with pickup trucks, it's such a competitive market. And so you have to discern somehow. And actually that like Hyundai is able to hit the sweet spot with a little bit less power. The Accord's faster. Like, it's kind of impressive in a way. It's like impressive that they built a car that, like, I'm not in love with. Like, I didn't dream about it when it went away. But like that I actually was happy to drive and I thought was well engineered.
With that said, driving experience is important to some people, and we have mentioned that the Mazda 6 maybe is one of the better cars to drive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we recommend it as like the driver's car. Like,
Right.
if you're a driver and you're in this class, then you can get the Mazda 6. It is better to drive than the Fusion. It's a little bit better to drive than the Accord. The Accord's got a little bit more power, so once again, you're sort of in that space where it sometimes feels better.
Right.
It's the best balance.
Don't you feel a little displeased that the Mazda doesn't have a V6?
I wish it did. It would be so much better.
It would be so much better.
I don't know. Why do you want a V6? Why is a V6 important to you?
Because then you're going to kill gas mileage. And if we're talking about, you know, mid-size sedans, we're talking about, you know, most of us who commute long distances who are really ultimately just looking for a way to get, you know, families to soccer practice or to work or whatever. Like Matt said, you know, fleet cars, you know, you got to have a corporate car, so this is your option.
There's supposed to be a diesel coming, but hasn't happened.
Yeah, in 6,000 years.
Right.
And
there's going to be a wagon eventually, but we can all dream about that.
I went to the press launch and they said diesel just a few months away, and that was about 2012. Subaru Legacy is one of my all-time favorites one of my current favorites. It hasn't always been that great.
So this is probably the worst looking car in the class.
You don't think it's nice looking? The old one was
Old one was terrible looking.
really bad.
It was just awful. It was weird and angular and boxy, and things looked out of proportion on every angle that you looked at it.
Yeah.
The new one's much better looking.
Because in the Fusion, you have to really upgrade to something
Yeah.
crazy trim.
Oh, yeah, you have to have
To get an
like
SE, but you have to add a bunch of other stuff. It's like it's at least 30.
unlimited and like all of that kind of crazy, or whatever they call it, limited or whatever
Yeah,
whatever the
SE
trim.
or whatever it is. I don't remember.
The Legacy also comes with all that, the Subaru EyeSight stuff.
That's actually, that is the best. If safety is like your concern, like now before you say maybe buy a Volvo, but like yeah, here I would say Subaru. It is the best all-wheel drive value, and it is because Subaru doesn't have a premium brand. Like that's their. Is the Legacy the flagship model of Subaru?
Outback Legacy, sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so they throw everything at it. But I would say, yeah, just like the same thing. Like if people they don't know what they want, I'm like, just get an Impreza and be happy.
So there are a bunch of others. What about, we're not talking about Camry.
Oh boy.
Camry was just updated.
It was updated. I still am not a big fan. It still feels like a tin can on wheels to me. I mean, one of the things that stands out in my mind is sitting in the car and I happened to like reach up and like tap the roof for something. I think I reached back to grab something, and when I tapped it, it literally was like this hollow. Like there's not even any sound deadening on that roof. Where you're like, what?
Right.
Yikes!
So you think quality
what is this?
is not up to par.
Maybe it's not quality because Toyota is known for
Right.
reliability, and I mean their cars go forever.
Fit and finish.
Yeah, but fit and finish in the competitive set, it just doesn't. It's not on par with everything else.
Interesting. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
and I'll say this. So for reliability, when we were walking over here, there was a cab, and Doug is like Rain Man with like a cell phone. Like every time a car goes by, he puts the license plate into the Carfax report
Really?
to see what the info is and how many miles.
Wait. This is something that everybody needs to know. Why is that?
Carfax lets you with a license plate number. They let you look
Yeah.
up the Carfax report. So I've been looking up New York City taxis because
Okay.
just to see how many miles they have. So yeah, we put in an 09 Camry. It had 440,000 miles or something like that.
Yeah, 440,000 miles still running. So like,
And
yeah.
it looked just like
yeah,
every other
so,
New York taxi.
so that's nice. But I think that's the thing. Like I think Abby, you make a really great point because it's become the default choice for people.
Yeah.
Toyota doesn't have to try very hard. They're so far ahead. They've it's like 3-camera sitcoms. It's like why you don't have to make Big Bang Theory edgy. Which isn't to say I don't enjoy Big Bang Theory. There's anything bad about it. But like you don't have to like break new ground with it.
Right.
And all these other people are trying to be Community or they're trying to be Mom. They're trying to be other sitcoms that like do new things.
Right.
Because
You're saying they're going to sell a zillion of them anyway. They don't really
Yeah.
have to do that much work.
they
They did though. I mean, facelift. This is a
They did.
big deal, right? It was only two model
2
years, 2.5 model years.
Yeah.
They
They
didn't want to be like
decided-
Honda with a Civic, and they're
No,
like,
and
they're
be like, oh, just kidding.
Yeah, oops.
1 year, next year.
That
Wow,
was
they
an
look
odd-
so
that was an
different.
odd day.
Yeah, and so they saw it coming. They saw the writing on the wall. They said Hyundai used a devalued Korean currency. The won went down. They bought all of these engineers. They made the car better. They saw the writing on the wall. So I think we're going to see the next Toyota Camry. I would say is probably going to be the best Toyota Camry ever since the excellent 1993 Toyota Camry, which is really the best Toyota Camry ever.
Can we talk about the Americans? So the Malibu, we all kind of agree, is sort of an also-ran. Now, my personal favorite car in this segment is the Fusion. Here's the deal: you got hybrid, you got plug-in hybrid, you got a crappy 4-cylinder, you got a turbo 4-cylinder, you got the fuel-efficient 4-cylinder. They got front-wheel drive, they got all-wheel drive, they got every option, safety thing you could ever think of. I think that just runs the gamut. It's a great car. No?
The Fusion, at least, I mean, from fit and finish, features, safety, all of that stuff, I kind of have to agree with you in the American. If you're like, I'm buying American and
Right.
that's what I want. Chrysler is trying with the 200, but I don't. Honestly, from the outside, I just don't love the way it looks.
Oh, interesting.
I'm the opposite.
Really?
I actually
You don't like how the Fusion looks?
no, I like the way everyone likes it. Yeah, because
It's
it's
beautiful.
the
Add
freaking
beautiful to its list.
Aston Martin knockoff grill. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
it's like you can't screw that up.
You can't
Great
ignore
idea.
that part.
They
Like,
did a good job, and I agree. It's nice and it's got a lot of options, but then it's also expensive, and I would
It
get
gets a
something
little
else.
pricey to get some good stuff on a Fusion because you don't want that 2.5 liter 4-cylinder.
No.
That's the rental car model.
No. You want the 1.6 if you're going to try to hypermile it. The 1.6 with the stick, which is the thing you could get, is kind of interesting. I don't know, but the Chrysler 200 is interesting. I think it looks cool. I think that it's finally. Who knows what that car is actually like? I haven't driven it. We drove it, and Patrick drove it straight, not into anything, and it was.
luckily, there were no curves. So
No
it was
curves.
okay.
And he
Patrick.
liked it. He said it was pretty good. So I need to drive it. But
200 will park itself. And
Yeah.
not just in a parallel spot, it will park itself in a perpendicular.
But can I ask something? How many? This is something I really want to know. How many people actually regularly use that feature?
Oh,
I mean, if
presumably
I'm-
none ever.
Because if I'm in a, God forbid, you're in a grocery store parking lot or a mall parking lot or whatever, and you've got 9 miles of cars behind you. There's no way you're gonna be like, oh, excuse me, pardon me, while I
It takes a while.
take my hands off the wheel and like let it park. Like,
They have taken a huge step up. from where it was.
And we could always talk about the Ford MyTouch system.
Oh yeah, so that's the other thing. I know that's such an easy, like, we admit Ford across the board makes good cars, right?
Yeah.
Ford doesn't really make a bad car.
Right,
No.
the best in the industry, some would say.
You'll see, they're in
Transit Connect is quite
The
an
Transit Connect's amazing. I love the Transit. You know what? Actually, instead of getting a mid-sized car,
Ooh.
get a Transit Connect wagon
And freaking carpool it.
and
Done.
carpool it. Yeah, that would be
Done.
amazing. And then you
don't
can get
know.
over the My Ford Touch.
My Ford Touch, can we just be clear? My Ford Touch was bad when it came out. That was years
Yeah, it was
ago.
terrible.
It is quite good now. I had an edge
It's
with my
gotten
Ford
better.
Touch.
Quite.
It's
I had-
gotten
it is,
better.
I would say, look, we all agree Uconnect is the best. Is that
Yeah.
the agreement?
Uconnect, because it's here's how it
Which
works.
is Chrysler's.
Uconnect is Duplo.
Yeah.
My Ford Touch is like Lego, and the BMW and the Mercedes Command is like Technic.
Yeah.
When you're driving, you don't want Technic. You want Duplo. So Uconnect is best, and it's
Uconnect's
the ugliest looking one, but it's best because it's easy to
Right.
use.
Right.
Honda's is not that great. The
Honda's
Accord,
is-
however,
Yeah.
is a pretty good car. We're talking about midsize
Yeah.
sedan. So the Accord is one as a midsize sedan. Your thoughts?
The Accord is solid. I mean, the problem with it that it faces, at least in this sector, is that as you add options into it, it becomes more expensive. So you're rapidly approaching the $30,000 mark. And once you get into that arena, there's other options out there. You know, if you're going 30,000 and above, you've sort of opened up an entirely new window to midsize sedans. They're reliable. They get great gas mileage.
Right.
They, you know, have nice interiors and stuff. Their seats suck. I will be totally
on
honest.
the nose.
It's like it's like sitting on a bench.
The Accord Hybrid is one of the great cars on sale today. That thing is getting 51 city, according to the EPA. That's almost Prius level. It's better than anything else on the
And it's not
on
a
the
Prius,
market.
thank God.
And it's not a
And
Prius.
it's not a
That's the
Prius.
ultimate benefit.
So we put this on our list. We're like, okay, the best, legitimate best midsize sedan. Well, it's actually a Porsche Panamera, but they're legitimately the best. But you're not going to pay that.
That's a huge sedan, believe me.
Yeah,
I had
it's-
one of those.
it's
The
big.
Giant.
thing is enormous.
But the best, yeah, is a V6 EXL Accord.
Yeah.
Like that is almost a luxury car. Like if you can get an EX, not even EXL, it's the EX V6 for 30 or under, definitely get that. Like
Yeah.
who cares if the nav is weird? Like
Yeah,
it is
you
a
deal with it.
legitimately great car. But like, I don't know. I would get something weird. I would save the money and just get something weird. But I'm a cheapskate, so. We haven't mentioned the
Yeah.
Nissan Altima. Nissan
Haven't talked
We haven't
Altima.
talked-
Altima's getting older.
And I mean, okay, you want to talk cars that we haven't mentioned? Acura TLX.
TLX, Volvo S60. I mean, if you're starting to get into the beginnings of the luxury segment, Infinity's
Right.
still selling the old G37 as a
Infiniti.
new car. That is their second most popular car. This is truth.
Really? It's the second. I didn't even realize that.
I had
the,
no
the old,
idea.
and it's
It's their
probably
third
pretty
most.
cheap.
I'm sorry. It's Q50,
Q50.
QX60, which is the
Yeah.
JX,
The-
and then the old G37.
Oh, I got one for you. This is actually maybe we're gonna keep saying what the best one is. New York's hottest club is
This week.
Buick Regal GS with the stick.
Regal GS with
Ooh.
a stick.
Still a little pricey, although they're not
a
actually.
little tight inside too.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little tight inside. That car handles really well.
Yeah.
It's like a modern Acura, actually.
Yeah.
It's great to drive. It is a great car to drive.
What about Passat? Is that just done? Motor Trend 2010 car of the year.
From a looks department, I liked the old one better.
Yeah. Talk about plain.
Yeah,
It's
it's very
super-
vanilla.
It's super beige. Yeah, it is. It's probably the beigest car. And now, granted, like if I were like a cab driver, or like a delivery driver, like an Uber guy,
Yeah.
like a TDI,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a diesel. You
totally.
can actually get a diesel, which is great. And
Yeah.
there's tons of room in the back seat.
The Accord Hybrid gets so much better mileage than the Passat TDI. I don't think Volkswagen diesel is all they're hyped up to be, especially in the city. City fuel economy for diesels.
Well,
Yeah. It's a
Um,
medium commute car. I knew somebody
yeah.
who had a.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, if you're who was going from Charlottesville to Richmond, which is about a 40-mile trip.
Yeah.
She made bank, man.
It'd
She
be
was using a gallon of fuel each way.
Because it's
and-
best on the highway, and hybrids
Yeah.
obviously aren't. That's exactly right.
And it's comfortable. They're good, and they've got little, they're a little torquey. Like I would much rather be in a small diesel than like a 1.6 liter random like engine. So.
Yeah.
Volkswagen like half understands America, half doesn't. Like
Right.
Volkswagen Golf GTI. Oh, we get what America wants, and then Passat, and then no like proper SUV for us. Like
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
Volvo,
Volvo
the
S60.
S60. I love that car so much.
Yeah, it's actually pretty sleek. And if you want to talk about safety, Volvo has it freaking nailed.
Volvo's
I
still
mean,
good on
their
safety.
stuff
And that car's
is
comfortable.
solid.
It's pricey though. That car's an
It
expensive car. Ultimately, it's
is
not really
pricey.
expensive.
It is pricey. But, I mean, okay, caveat here. I grew up, my first car was a Volvo station wagon,
Oh, yeah.
240
Ah,
DL.
look at that.
I was like all about the brick. That was me. I even got a speeding ticket in it.
Oh
like
man,
going uphill.
30 and a 20.
Oh, no. It was a lot worse than that. My parents were like, what did you do? This is terrible. But that being said, Volvo still has a lot of They don't have the enthusiasm that they used to have, back in the 80s, for God's sake. But their cars now are really reliable, good looking. Actually, their interiors are really
Beautiful.
nice.
Some of the most
really
beautiful cars
slick,
on the entire market.
Gorgeous interfaces.
It does scare me that they're trying to make a turbo supercharged plug-in hybrid. When you throw all that stuff together,
it just sounds like a bad idea.
You never really know what's going to come out of that.
It's true. It's true.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you, Matt and Abby. Up next, we're going to talk about the best used sedan you can get for under $30,000 with Tavarish. Many of you who regularly read Jalopnik know Tavarish as the guy who insists you can buy a used Porsche for the price of a floor lamp. Now he's here every week to counter our new car bias by finding the best used car you can get for the same price online, culled from reader responses. All right, Tavarish, what do you have for us today?
Well, Doug, 30 grand is enough for you to fund the entire starting grid in a lemons race and still have a ludicrous amount of beer money left over. So buying just one car with that money can yield some awesome results.
All right, bring it on.
First up is a first-generation 2006 Cadillac Cts-V, suggested by commenter SM70, why not Duesenberg? It's not the supercharged second generation that you usually associate with the V badge, but it does have an LS6 V8 that pushes out 400 horsepower. Interior quality isn't Mercedes nice, but it's at least as nice as a BMW 5 Series, even if there is a bit too much plastic and large, dummy-proof Lego Duplo buttons for my taste. This 6-speed example squeezes in just under budget at 30 grand, which is a lot for a 10-year-old GM product, but it does have 22,000 original miles on it, so it's like you're getting a brand new GM product. I'd still check if all the recalls are done, just in case.
I own one of those, Freddie, and I recommend them to everyone who will listen, even small animals.
Well, next we have a 2007 Audi S6, suggested by, and I swear this is an actual username, MLG Car Guy was sold Kinjid laxatives by JKM 7680. This is what happens when all the good names are taken, people. This S6 was listed at $21,500 and it has around 67,000 miles on it. But I'm not sure that any of that is really important because this car has a V10 from the Lamborghini Gallardo, sort of. For me and you and every other reasonably sane person on the planet, the 5.2-liter FSI engine in the S6 is close enough to the one in the Lamborghini to say that they're identical. But to the pedantic commenters that can't leave well enough alone, there are slight differences in intake manifold runners, cam profiles, and oil pans with some other internal bits and pieces thrown in. The car does make 450 horsepower, which is a hell of a lot, especially for loaded Ford Fusion money. Parts and maintenance can be expensive, so for those thinking about buying something this high-strung, you should probably do your research before pulling the trigger on a purchase.
Or get one with a CarMax warranty. Last I checked, they're still selling them every so often.
Oh yeah.
What else do you have for us?
Well, last we have the Bmw M5, but not any specific car. I'm talking about all of them, from the E28 to the E60. Commenters like this car so much that had I divided them up by model and suggestion, I'd probably be suggesting nothing but M5s for the next 10 challenges. My personal favorite is the E60 M5, particularly any 6-speed manual made after '07. For 30 grand, you can buy a reasonably low mileage 6-speed with money for some ECU mods that take the red line up to almost 9,000 RPM, which is exotic territory. But there is a slight catch. The engines do have a nasty knack for wearing out their bearings, so any purchase should come with an oil analysis and a list of previous maintenance. If it all checks out, there's no reason not to take your family out on the most terrifying trip to the grocery store that I've ever had.
Well, thanks, Tavarish.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be talking about all the cars in the comments below and on Jalopnik. And don't forget to subscribe for some more great Jalopnik content. But before you go, I leave you with this question. If it does 0 to 60 in less than 7 seconds, is it really beige? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to What Car Should You Buy? And don't forget to subscribe by clicking this button right here.
Dougie! Dougie, come up from the basement. You're going to catch a call down there.
Mom, I'm recording a show!
You need to come upstairs. You need to rub my feet.
In a minute! All right, well, thank you very much. That's awesome. Sorry. I thought it'd be in position.